You're listening to the Ringer NBA show presented by FanDuel. America's #1 sportsbook is the best place to bet on the NBA because not only does FanDuel have all your favorite player props, but now you can even check out stats and recent performance trends right in the app before you make your picks. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today to get in on the action. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
Welcome to the brand new Zach Lowe Show. That's right, I'm back to have the same in-depth NBA conversations you're used to. We're going to talk about the games. Yeah, the games, the X's and O's, the drama, the trades, the playoffs are coming up. And now you get to see every episode in full on video on Spotify and on my own YouTube channel. Episodes drop every Monday and Thursday with a collection of guests you're going to love. So make sure you follow and subscribe to the brand new Zach Lowe Show on Spotify or wherever you watch or listen to your podcast. Let's go!
What's poppin'? Real ones. Logan Murdock here. Raja Bell there. Cliff on the boards. Victoria on the videos. Had a crazy static, bro. Are your ears okay from what the hell happened to Victoria's static on her line, bro? Woke your game up.
Yeah, recovery. Yeah, if I came in here half asleep, I'm not now.
Oh, man, dude. She woke my game. I was half asleep my damn self, and it was, static. Oh, man. Speaking of static, there's a lot going on in the NBA, Raja. There's a lot going on. There's playing. It was like Black Monday on yesterday. Jeez, a lot of people got fired. A lot of people got axed. Some more clarity on the Denver Nuggets firing of Michael Malone and Calvin Booth. Would like to get your opinion on that. Then we're going to talk a little play-in tournament. We're going to talk Mavericks Kings. That looks pretty promising. There's Atlanta Hawks Magic. That looks pretty promising. Heat Bulls. I think you wanted to talk about those games. I don't know if there's a game on the West Coast that you want to talk about necessarily. But
oh yeah, give me all of those.
All right, man. First off, let's go to Phoenix, man. Let's go to Sky Harbor. Let's figure it out. Coach Bud got fired, which is like the least surprising thing of all time, right?
Yep.
Kind of got to fire your coach after a season like the Suns had. 3 coaches in 4 years for the Suns. It's really bad in Phoenix, man. I just got back from there a couple weeks ago. The city itself was great. I had a blast there, but whenever you were going through the arena, it was just really depressing, right? And we'll get into all the reasons why, but what are your first impressions of why Coach Bud got fired, and was it just the right thing to do based on how this season had gone? How do you feel? What are your thoughts when you think about the fire?
First, my thoughts are just kind of sad because I don't know Phoenix. I don't really know them in any way other than the kind of joyous place it was when I was there. And I've got such fond memories, and the town was electric, the building was electric, everything about that kind of era of Suns basketball was great. And so it's sad to hear that it's the antithesis of that at this point. As far as Bud being fired, I mean, do you have to fire him? I guess I don't know. What am I supposed to fucking say to that? I'm trying my best to be really fair, and I've said this on air before that the Suns, the ownership group and whoever he's entrusted, Ciola and folks like that have done such a good job of reconnecting with some of us that weren't really connected to the Suns in that way, and inviting us back, and inviting us to Steve's Ring of Honor and Matrix's thing and stats. And so I am very appreciative and supportive of that, but this is dysfunctional. That's what this is. Sorry, Logan, but if I'm being fair and I say that about other organizations that can't keep a coach, and they're just firing one after the other and trying to put a Band-Aid on something, then I have to say it about the Suns, and this is dysfunctional at this point.
Well, I think that I don't think I think it was more the roster and the setup and the vibe of this team that was bad. And I think Bud's year there was an extension of that, right? Whether it's trying to give advice that's sound advice, I think Chris Haynes reported this of him telling Bradley Beal, "Hey man, maybe you should be like Drew Holiday for this team. That'll be a good role for you, right?" And I think that would help our team win. Bradley Beal ego is like, "Nah, I'm Bradley Beal," and it's like, yes, you are Bradley Beal. I mean, if you were trying to be more like Drew Holiday in this context, we probably would do better, right? That's sound advice. You don't think so? Wait, hold on. Okay, so anyway,
Yeah,
that's
no,
one thing,
no,
right?
yeah, no.
That's one thing,
Go
right?
finish.
That's one thing, right? And then never got a good relationship with Kevin Durant. Whether it's KD, and I've written about this already, whether it's KD not really liking the offense that Bud put out there specifically for the roster that they had on the floor, right? A lot of young guys, especially post trade. Kevin thought that they should have simplified the offense more for the group that they had, right? As a consequence, they look really predictable in a lot of games. I think also with that against the Celtics, when you have like, here, you shoot, no, you shoot. Also, Bud didn't have a great relationship with Devin Booker, right? I guess that's a fair thing to say. So when you don't have a good relationship with your star players, and the other player doesn't want to take a role change, and me and you have talked about Bradley Beal all season and his injuries and just the lack of overall self-awareness that he tends to display. I think it was a recipe for just disaster in all ways, right? And I think that you can say also the record of Coach Bud wasn't optimal, considering Frank Vogel got the same group to 49 wins and a 6 seed last year. But I think overall, I don't think this is an indictment necessarily on Coach Bud going forward as a good coach, right? I think that this was just a bad situation for him. And I think that we kind of looked at the Suns with rose-colored glasses because of the talent level. But the locker room vibes between those two entities just wasn't good. And I think that this was, what else are you going to do? You're going to you have to kind of, what else are you going to do if you're Matt Ishbia, right? Like, I don't know what else you can do.
This has been mismanaged. It's been mismanaged. Like, let's just look, because everything you said, right? Like, I'll try to address them all, although I won't do it justice. But let's say again, Bud's not running an offense that people like. Bud's not doing the things offensively that puts the team in the best position to be. That is supposed to be addressed before you hire him. Mm-hmm. That is supposed to be addressed with Bud. It's supposed to be addressed with the brain trust with the Suns. And then you are supposed to include Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to whatever degree. Bradley Beal, maybe not. I don't know how he's looked upon in that organization, but at least those two are supposed to have some prior knowledge about what he intends to do. Give some feedback. Hey, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. We don't want to do that. Like, we don't play like that. And I reference this all the time with Steve Kerr and when he brought in Terry Porter. And it did not work because what you were selling to us as a team in place, and I thought Steve did a decent job of probably reaching out to Amari and Steve Nash and Sean Marion. And he even called me, not as a sign-off, just as a courtesy to let me know what was going to happen. But he was selling it as if things weren't going to change. Like, this is what's going to happen. And then Terry Porter's not doing that. And so now there's like a disconnect. People are like, yo, what the fuck is going on? And so I only say from personal experience, like, when you are making moves like that with a roster that has the type of pedigree that they have, this has to be worked out up front.
Yeah.
Like, relationships, like, when you are going through a coaching search, you're building a team in that coach's locker room. And if he's not a relationship guy, like, you should know that. Like, Bud's got enough of a track record. If he's not a relationship guy, and I don't know him one way or the other, but if he's not, you certainly get somebody on that staff that's a relationship person. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried to do that with they had Fizdale on the staff, who tends to connect with players. But based on everything that I see, he was just a guy that was liaison between KD and Bud. It wasn't necessarily like the rest of the group, right? You know what I'm saying?
However you slice this, it has been mismanaged.
Yeah.
It's been mismanaged for a couple years now. And like
I don't know if
I don't-
you've ever seen I don't know if you've ever seen this, Raja, but I want to roll this by you, just a visual. Like, I've never seen a superstar player. I was there for about a couple weeks ago, and I've seen them in person when they played in the Bay Area. But I've never seen a star player talk to a coach between every single stretch down the court. Like, KD, as he's running from one side of the court to the other, every play was yelling something at Coach Bud. Like, it wasn't pretty either. It was like, what the hell is going on? Or it's always like a micromanaging of relationships between those two guys. And I think that was a microcosm for the rest of the roster, but they just didn't trust each other. Have you seen something like that where, like, every time down the court, not just like maybe once or twice a quarter, like, hey, I got to give you some advice. Like, no, every possession they are seem to be going at it.
I've never seen anything like that, but I've seen dysfunction. I've been in huddles. I tried to give KD the benefit of the doubt and Bud the benefit of the doubt when they first started becoming public about those two, like, having the words and shit like that does happen. So, like, I don't have to definitively say that it's a bad look, because things happen sometimes, and I'm not there, but it's usually a bad sign. And I've been in huddles and locker rooms where someone's talking, and a player that holds weight on that team is looking at him with the fucking side eye look, and everybody else on the roster is looking at the player in agreement, like, yeah, this shit is crazy. Well, fuck what he's talking about. Like, and that is toxic. Like, that's a toxic environment. There's that is just you've got a complete lack of trust from your star down. And at that point, that is a coach that has to go. Like, whether record or not, or someone has to go in that situation. And so, no, I haven't seen that, but I've seen other situations that are very similar to that.
This reeks of, I mean, obviously we've talked about this a lot with my SBA with the new owner syndrome, but like, everything that every person you talk to within that organization or around that organization, or anyone that has paid attention to them on a daily basis, basically, when Matt Ishbia got the job, he pushed aside James Jones and just said, I'm going to make all the decisions. And James Jones was a really good GM. We've praised him on this show, right? And he's basically just kind of put it into the background, and every decision has Matt Ishbia's fingerprints on it, right? And it's also almost seems like he's just flying at the seat of his pants with this, right? Like, hell, KD's on the market. Let's do everything we can to just go get him. I just want KD on my team, right? Not thinking about the picks that you're sending back, right? Getting rid of Cam Johnson, getting rid of like a lot of your depth to acquire KD, right? It wasn't even a negotiation. Same with Bradley Beal, honestly. Like, oh, hey, okay, get Bradley Beal. I don't care. Just do it. We're going to throw a boatload of picks. And, I mean, Washington just kind of just fleeced them on that trade. You look at the picks that they got and how they're set up for future success. You take that deal 11 times out of 10 if you're Washington, right? But, like, it just seems like he's willing and dealing. Coach Bud's a good coach. He's done really good with Giannis. I've seen him on TV. Let's figure it out, right? Instead of, like, what you're saying is, instead of doing what you're saying, let's talk to the guys. Let's look at film. Like, it just seems like a guy in Matt Ishbia that isn't real. He says he's empowering people, but isn't really empowering people to do their jobs. And that's what this all reeks of. And now Phoenix is in a mess right now, right? Like, it's gotten so bad that I feel like the only way you go back to even being able to build another team is tearing everything down to the studs. And I'm not just saying trading Bradley Beal, which shout out to Gambo down there in Arizona, who said that they're going to trade Bradley Beal, or Bradley Beal's not going to be on the roster next year. And you not only do you have to trade him, you got to trade KD. You got to kind of think about trading Devin Booker to get some of your assets back, because you're not going to be able to build the team that you want to build around Devin Booker with the current climate that we're in right now in terms of picks, in terms of what your return for guys. It's pretty bad in Phoenix right now, Ra.
Yeah, I don't know the inner workings of the relationship between their front office and ownership. I'm going to take your word for it. You guys report for a living. Whoever is steering the ship, you've run it aground. And you are going to now have to take some desperate measures to be able to recoup the assets that would be able to allow you moving forward to try to build again. A few things, like you touched on Bradley Beal not wanting to be Drew Holiday. Look, I like Bradley Beal. I'm a Bradley Beal fan. He's a really good player, but you also said there was a lack of self-awareness. I couldn't agree more. Like at this point in your career, you've got multiple bags. You've been the guy. You've had the opportunities. It hasn't come to fruition in terms of championships. At what point do we say, hey, look, I have to play a role and be the best version of that role to try to help this team win? Now, provided the man's not telling you to sit down and you don't have a place in this, we've got to be able to do that as professionals at some point in our career. And look, I'm the guy sitting here telling you, when dudes are young, when dudes are trying to get to the bag and trying to get to the mountaintop, those things can be in conflict. What you're asking me to do, to sacrifice for us to win, and what I need to do to get to the top of this mountain and maximize my earning potential, like those two things can be in conflict. And finding the sweet spot is what good organizations do. But like, that's not where we're at with him. Mm-hmm. So like, there should be a level of like, we're disrespecting Drew Holiday by saying, I ain't willing to be Drew Holiday.
Bro, you just want to chip.
Drew multiple chips.
He single-handedly swung
multiple
the
chips.
Bro, as soon as he got on the Celtics, it was like, oh, that's the tipping point.
And the Bucks.
Title.
And the Bucks.
Yeah.
So like, I find that fascinating. Look, I love Devin Booker. This is going to sound crazy because I know I'm straddling the fence all that. Phenomenal player. Is it possible that he's not the franchise player? Like, is that possible? On a championship level team? I don't think that's a slight. I know whenever you say that, people look at you like you, or like no one's downplaying that. Like there's only a handful of those dudes.
This is what I think about Devin Booker. And like you, I love his game. I love what he's about as a person. I love his drive. I love all of that. All of that. But I would say this, and this is to your point, right? He has always kind of needed an alpha personality next to him to succeed. And I think the biggest thing that has been a hindrance for him is the trade for KD. I think that has been a hindrance for him. And hear me out on this, Ra. Because Kevin isn't a number one personality and all the things, right? Kind of flows to the background. Devin, because this is my opinion, Devin has kind of treated Kevin the way he treated Chris Paul and like kind of shying away from the top.
We're 10 years in, bro.
No, but listen,
we're 10 years in.
Because he feels that way because he sees like, yo, KD's my idol. I looked up to him. I want to hear what he has to say. But he is kind of taking that backseat role. And Kevin Durant isn't Chris Paul personality-wise. And I do think that if I'm going to agree with you on that point, is I think that personality trait has been a great hindrance for Devin Booker throughout his career. And I think it's been the difference between him being a number one to what you're describing as maybe a more complimentary piece, a great superstar level complimentary piece, but a complimentary piece nonetheless.
However the fuck you want to shine that up, do it.
You see me?
Like, I was your job to write. You the writer. I'm not a writer. I'm getting on here telling you.
I put a poetic spin to it.
And I appreciate that. Let me distill it because I'm going to say it again. We're 10 years in, right? And he's a phenomenal player. Yeah. But at some point, you're not the number one on a championship winning team. And that's not me saying that. That's historical fact. You ain't won a championship yet. Like, so, you know, I'm talking about every one of these big three players in a way that I see that, right? So like if you're the Suns and you're saying we might have to give up on Devin Booker and not give up in terms of we don't love him and we don't want him, but in terms of like we are just in such a bad spot that we have to explore all options. Well, I mean, maybe. Maybe.
I don't think
right?
I honestly
so,
don't
hold on,
think
let me
it's
finish
that
though,
hard
because
my bad.
it's not my bad. Because and Kevin Durant, I'm gonna be like the KD situation. Phenomenal player. I'm the biggest fucking KD fan. I love KD, but you are all culpable in this in some way. Like we're all culpable in this. You don't get to be a trio of that level, of talent, and have it be the cluster F that it was, and all of us not get some shit on us, including the organization who I just gave shit. Like the coaches, like everything surrounding that has been mismanaged. I'll just use the word again, mismanaged. But like every player that was supposed to be the focal point of that has some culpability in that. And KD is no different.
Yeah. I don't think it's that hard of a decision, Raja. You need to tear this down to studs. That's what it is, right? Like, I want to evoke the great Alonzo Carter. Get your feelings out to shit. Like, I get it. I understand that you have an attachment to Devin Booker. I understand that you maybe don't want to get rid of him. I understand all those things, right? I understand that he wants to be, and he told me a couple weeks ago, he wants to retire his son because of how rare that is in Arizona sports. It doesn't happen, right? Like, this is something that I love. And Phoenix is a great place to live. You know, it's a great place to be a star, all those things. And I think that he fits great in with Arizona. All that being said, the organization hasn't done enough to put an optimal team around Devin Booker, right? Like, and I'm going to say this post Matt Ishbia. And I know there's going to be people like, oh, man, but he got you Kevin Durant. Oh, man, but he got you Bradley Beal. But they didn't build a team. They didn't build a functioning, deep team. You look at them, Raja, and if you have a team where Kevin Durant is your backup and sometimes starting center, you have a problem in the way that you construct a roster. They haven't constructed a roster around Devin Booker in the way that they are supposed to. Clearly, the proof is in the pudding. We saw it this season, right? But because you haven't done that and you don't have any avenues to do that, you are doing a disservice to him. And honestly, you're kind of doing a disservice to yourself by not tearing this down to studs and figuring it out the right way. A hard reset is necessary in Phoenix. And don't nobody want to say that within the organization, but that's what it is. That's the only way through.
Let me come at it from Devin Booker's perspective because, look, again, I want to make sure that everybody understands. I think Devin Booker is fantastic.
Love him.
But when I am talking about number ones on championship level teams, like there are only a few of those in the NBA for me. I don't have nearly as many of those in my tier as your average person would have in their tier of people that are capable of doing that. And so I don't see it as any real disrespect to him. He's incredible. I said what I said about, like, if I had to move that because of the situation I put myself in, as much as I might not want to because all of the feels and the emotions and the history, got to do what I got to do, right? Having said that, let me flip it and go from Devin Booker's perspective. I love the fact that he wants to be in Phoenix. Phoenix is amazing. Like, I would have loved to have stayed in Phoenix and had that history, albeit at a much lesser level of player than him, but I would have loved to have the connection to that valley and the people there, and have my kids were born there. I would have liked that association in that way. I respect all of that. You should want to get the fuck out of there. You should want to go at this point. Because what are they going to do to get you where you're trying to go?
No.
Like, if recent track record is going to speak for what's going to happen moving forward, how do you think? Show me the roadmap to how we get to me being a champion if I'm Devin Booker here in Phoenix. I don't think they can show you that. So even like if I'm him, I'm like, hey, bro, like, hey, that's valiant. I love it. Like, that's old school shit. Reconsider.
The Ringer NBA show is brought to you by FanDuel. We're coming down the stretch of the NBA season, and the best place to get in on the action for all the best games is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because with FanDuel, there's so many ways for you to play. They've got all your favorite bets, from who will win the game to player props for points, assists, rebounds, and so much more. Let's take a look at the slate. I'm going to take the Warriors over the Grizzlies. I'm going to take the over on field goal attempts from Jimmy Butler, and I'm going to take the over on points with Jimmy Butler. How about that? Does that sound good? Well, you could score an even bigger W because FanDuel is giving you a profit boost for all of tonight's actions. Just check the FanDuel Sportsbook app to see how much you get. Or head over to FanDuel.com/RingerNBA for more info. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 years and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C. Opt-in required. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. All right, man, let's do 10 minutes on the Pelicans. We got so deep in the weeds, I got a text from Cliff like, yo, make sure we get to the other topics.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I don't even like to talk about the Suns like that.
I feel you. Let's talk about the Pelicans really quickly, right? Where Griff, as I think is another, similar to Bud, is another casualty to the situation more than like an indictment on his acumen and talent level, bro. Like, honestly, I think the Pelicans did Griff a favor, you know? Like, you go through so many things with an organization, and it's just time. And the fact of the matter is the Pelicans are a team filled with bad luck, an organization filled with bad luck, saddled with Zion, who has injury troubles and a whole host of other things that have taken him down and have not let him reach his full potential, right? That's putting it lightly. I know I'm poetically sanitizing the message that Raja would have went hard on, but Zion just hasn't been what he is supposed to be, right? And then you have a cavalcade of injuries around him, right? You have you go from building a team that can win in spite of Zion, but also needs Zion to get to the next level. And then, you have the Lonzo Ball experiment that didn't work, right? You have the DeJounte Murray injury, and he also hasn't played that great in a Pelicans uniform anyway. You just... like in New Orleans, they're not even the first priority in the ownership, right? The Pelicans aren't, right? The Saints are very much so. You could see that within the organization with their facilities, right? Probably have the worst arena in the league. No disrespect, but this just is what it is. And there's just a lot going on bad with the Pelicans right now. And on top of that, Raja, they're going to bring in Joe Dumars, which I don't think is a really good idea. Shout out to Joe Dumars, but I don't think this is the time for him. It's just all bad. I said 10 minutes on the Pelicans for me to rant about how bad the Pelicans are and how it's great that Griff has freed himself from the situation.
Yeah, man, where to go with this? Shout out to Griff. What had he been there? He had been there 6 years now, 2019 or something like that. Like it was, at some point, the buck has to stop somewhere, and whether you can point to Griff for any or all of that. I mean, eventually, the buck is going to get to you, right? If we're not getting this right.
But to his point, to be fair though, I think he did a good job with his role, right? Like you got Zion, who was the number one pick there. You tried to build around him. You had good guys.
I'm not saying no. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's that. What? Look, I'm not there. Right? Like, again, when I always try to, and maybe it's not great podcasting, but like I try my best to because there's so many dynamics going on in those organizations, to not like point fingers if I don't know definitively who's making someone do what or whose call it was to do this and that. And so, what I am saying about that is, like, if your job is to manage it and your job is to be the president of it and so on and so forth, if it's not working, eventually the buck is going to get to you and it's going to have to stop with you, right? Like whether you fully deserve that or not. I know that Griff is really, really good at his job. I know that Griff felt very supported early. He thought it was a great situation. I had conversations with him in regards to that, and maybe even hopping back, on that side of the profession. I do know that it was very, very tense with the camp. You got that draft pick wrong.
And sometimes that happens, like, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't wrong in the moment, but that sometimes happens.
And it wasn't wrong from a talent perspective. Like, everyone would have made the pick. I actually said, like, what class was that again? Who was in that class? I want to make sure I'm remembering this right.
I think it was
It was
2019. No,
Ja.
John Morant was in the crowd. Let me see.
No, that wasn't the class that I had said that about. It was the Markelle Fultz. It was the Markelle Fultz. That was the class. That I
But
said
no,
about.
that was R.J. Barrett, Darius Garland, some good guys
That's
on
a
the
tough-
Jackson.
yeah, but it's a tough.
It was
everyone,
fine. It was fine.
Everyone makes that pick. It just happened to be that like it. The pick was injury prone, flashes of brilliance, but injury prone, and then not a pro. Like I didn't just get that from one source. Like I got that from multiple people. Like it was very, very hard work to get him to act like a professional and get the people in his
it's
camp.
bad, Raja. It's bad when people in your own camp are just like, this guy here, this guy.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
They're at their wits' end with it, right? And so, like, look, that again, if you expect David Griffin or any other grown man to be able to take another grown man who is making the type of money that he's making and the franchise is tied to him in that way and change his habits just because they say so, you're a dummy. It doesn't work like that. That shit does not work.
You all won this morning, dog.
So, like, like that is not real life, bro. This man, clearly he has been raised in a situation, and I don't mean by his parents necessarily, but just maybe the whole AAU system to be able to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it, and it's hard for that to be. It's hard for that to be the standard in your building. And we can say, hey, man, well, we got vets around here and we're bringing in the CJ McCollums and we're bringing in these and then like, these are the people who are going to be the cultural leaders. And that's all well and good for real. Like, don't get me wrong. I advocate for that all the time. And CJ is phenomenal, like, and a phenomenal player, human being, all of that. But Zion is Zion. Like that
but
is
the role players don't matter as long as as much. Not to say that CJ McCollum isn't good, but like none of this shit matters if Zion don't pop. We're trying to build a roster around one person.
Yeah, and so it becomes really difficult when that is inconsistent, less than professional, and has injury history that may or may not be linked to the lack of professionalism, and it just becomes very difficult. And so for all those reasons, like, look, again, I'm friends with a lot of dudes in the NBA. I'm not the type of friend that says eventually they can't be let go because it's never their fault. What I'm saying to you is if all that happens on Griff's tenure, as much as I think it was out of his control, I mean, eventually the buck gets to you, right? And that's kind of what happened there. Griff is great at his job. Like great. Mm-hmm. And I think Griff's track record at being great at his job and developing others that are currently great at their job speak for itself.
Hey, man, I'll say this. It does. We're going to talk, and this is a great transition. The Denver Nuggets, which now have an opening for a front office guy head of basketball ops, right? I don't know. Griff's pretty good. He's pretty fucking good.
Let me text my dog, Grippy, real quick.
Yeah, highlight Griff, man. Trying to let's get a scoop right here. Let's see what's happening. But the Nuggets, man. I sent you a story yesterday. Josh Kroenke, Stan Kroenke's son. Dog, first of all, the Kroenke's got so much bread. Jesus Christ, man. It's just like, damn, bro. Like I was just prepared for the podcast, and I was just like looking, like, yo, Josh, let's look at this Wikipedia. Yeah, Stan, and god damn, yeah. Walmart making money. But anyway, Josh, to his credit, I will say this. To his credit, did speak to the local media in Denver, and was really answered every single question about, for better or worse, the decision. And I honestly, I was pretty enlightened to, what the decision-making process. And I don't necessarily agree, but I do think that there were some interesting things that that Josh said. There are a couple quotes that really stuck out. He said that he was thinking of making a change like this around Thanksgiving, right?
Yep.
And whenever he wanted to make a change, and this sometimes happens in the NBA and sports in general, whenever you want to make a change, the team goes on a run, and it's like, damn, I can't make it now. I can't do it now. And he wanted to also, close shop around the All-Star break, but Denver got hot, right? And then it seemed like he was waiting on a losing streak to happen before he made this move. Is that a good philosophy or a bad philosophy here, Raja, when you're thinking about what Denver is trying to do at this point?
I mean, I don't know. Who am I to judge whether that's a good philosophy or bad philosophy overall? I don't know. I've never run a fucking team. I don't know. What do you want me to say? Here's what I can definitively say. I understand where you're coming from, Josh. Sounds like your mind was made up a long time ago. Okay.
He was out here playing double dutch.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd be doing that. Just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and go. Like if your mind's made up about it, and it seems like very little was going to sway that, then just go ahead and do what you got to do. What I know is there's a code. Like there's an unwritten set of rules. It was like made men back in the day, and they were, notorious in some instances and stuff like that, but they operated by a code. You hear that with dudes, today, like in different arenas. Like they're like, yo, man, like we might do X, Y, and Z, but there's a code to this. Like there's certain things we don't do. Why are you firing them at that point in the season before the Memphis catastrophe?
Well, actually, they I think that emboldened them to do it. They were like, "Oh,
no!"
shit, that's
but what
similar to our
I'm saying is,
situation. Let's do it.
that's it. It definitely did. But before that, what I'm saying is like, people get fired in season if it's absolutely necessary. Don't get me wrong. But like typically with 3 games left in the season, man, like 6 games left in the season, like these are people that you've spent a lot of time with. Like short of them coming in your office and telling you to kiss their ass and like knocking everything off your desk, let them finish the job.
And even then, some people stay. Even then, as you know, so even if you do
trust me, like some people stay.
There's just some wild shit that we both know behind the scenes that if they did it, they still got their job.
You understand? I'm like, there's a little bit of a code to a dude who has brought you a championship pretty recently. The GM who's helped do that. There are 3 games left. I still will tell you, anyone trying to spin look at me. Where's the camera? Anyone trying to tell me that gives them a better chance to win in this year's playoffs is full of shit. So if like, I didn't love that. Like, just let them finish it, fire them as soon as they lose in the playoffs. Boom, we're out of here. Because I always think that like, you're trying to give like this is your business, but at the end of the day, you're trying to help that roster do everything that it can do, right? And I know Adelman's probably good, and this is no reflection on him at all. One person there had taken you all the way to the promised land in that big chair.
So here, hold on, wait. This is one thing this is the Memphis thing and the Denver thing that is just a grave oversight by their team that I don't think is being mentioned enough when we talk about new coaches this late in the season. How is a player supposed to trust a coach at this stage, right? Where not even I'll know like this is a bad. You build trust over a season and time spent together and bad losses and good wins, right? You're putting Adelman in an impossible situation. You're putting the new Memphis Grizzlies coach in an impossible situation because you're asking him to go through the peaks and the valleys at the biggest stage of the season, right? Like, luckily, Denver has Jokic, who is like this strong pillar of leadership, right? Where I feel like makes the Denver situation a little bit better. But like, who do you turn to when you're trying to calm things down and calm all these things down? You're asking a guy like Adelman, who doesn't have any head coaching experience, to learn both on the fly at the highest level and still try to build trust with these guys. It's one thing to build trust, like I said in the previous pod, when you're an assistant coach and you got your arm around a player and saying everything is going to be okay. But then when you have to also be the bad guy here and also have to make real decisions, it's a totally different seat. And I really think that the organizations, whether it works out or not, really put their players in a really bad situation.
That's my point. By your logic, by my logic, or by both of them. There's no way that you can sit in front of a mic and try to sell to your fan base and the players in that locker room that is putting them in the best position to maximize success right now in the short term.
Even if Michael Malone was an asshole, he's the asshole that I know for the time being until you get
right
him up
now,
out of here in the offseason.
But that's the operative part of this for me. It's the time. It's the amount of time that you have to do this, right? Like if you're saying to me for the health of our organization, this is a different conversation I'm having with you now. Like you did that in the offseason. You don't think he's the person in moving forward, but you're talking about in the short term, like right now in the middle of a season, at the end of a season, 74 to 79 games in and a slight playoff run. You're telling me that the dude that's never, ever done it with this group is going to have the best chance to get the success out of them? Stop.
Please stop. Anyways, let's stop with this segment. Let's talk a little play-in because we'll talk about the playoffs like as a whole on Friday with Howard motherfucking Beck. We'll talk about a little bit of the play-in. I do think this Atlanta Hawks Magic game is intriguing. It's the first game on Tuesday. It could be something. Miami Heat and Chicago. Yeah. You want to talk about Dallas Kings real quick?
Nope.
Do you want to talk about any of the Eastern Conferences at all? Like, honestly, do you have any thoughts about the Eastern Conference play-in?
I mean, the Eastern Conference, yeah, I mean, I don't really have thoughts. I mean, I'll be there tacos in hand tonight to watch the Atlanta Orlando game. Like I'm there to watch it. I don't have true thoughts on it. I mean, there's only one game in the play-in that really like
I know.
You know
Listen,
what I mean? Like
I get a lot of criticism.
Like we got to be on here faking.
We get a lot of criticism. Like, oh, you're just talking Warriors, and I'm like, bro, the Warriors are the most interesting team one of the most interesting team in the league, and this is the best matchup.
And the other dude is throwing grenades.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're talking about. One motherfucker got a whole artillery that he brings out on the court, and the other one's got Steph Curry.
Oh my God, the puns are all there. Dog, the thing with like Ja real quick before we get into it, it's like, bro, like, I don't believe him. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he tries to act hard, I don't believe him. This is probably going to get me messed up. But like, I talked to Cliff about this earlier. It's like, dude, what are we doing? Stop. And the explanations are even worse than the actions. I'm just like, dog. Anyways.
Here's what I don't know. And here's what I don't know. I mean, I don't know him, but I don't know who he knows in Memphis.
I know.
And I got family from Memphis. I used to spend summers in
I
Memphis.
lived in Memphis.
I want no problems in Memphis.
None. Listen, just love
Zero.
and respect.
Let me say that to the camera.
Love and respect.
No problems with Memphis.
I love Memphis. Hey, here's another thing. No, and I say that really, and I'm not saying that, some of it is from fear, but like most of it is from love, right? Like I lived in Memphis for a summer. I absolutely loved it. I love the people there. There's good people. It's hardworking, and it's a real underdog city too.
No doubt.
It's a city where like you got them fucked up at all times. You talk about their rivalry with Nashville and all the things like that. Like it's gritty.
Have I told this story on the pod about like the wildest, like most? It was the most beautiful experience probably. Like I had a shirt. I was staying at the Peabody. And I had this suit. It might have been Easter or MLK. And I had this suit. And I was like, I didn't wear suits all the time, but I was suited. I was ready to go. And the Peabody, I missed the dry cleaning cutoff or something like that. And so I had called the bellman up and he was like, yo, like, and he could see the look in my face. He was like, yo, man, I take that home and have my wife touch that up for you.
Oh,
and I was like, what? I don't know why I felt comfortable doing that, but I did. And my man took that shirt home for me. His wife,
he was dead serious too.
She ironed that bad boy to a T. Like it looked better than it would have looked coming from a dry cleaner. And I was able to roll out the next day, like fresh to death. And that was Memphis, Tennessee, bro. So like, I got a lot of love for Memphis. That was like it was the most genuine, like, I don't know what the word is for that. Like it was real humbling,
hospitality,
bro. It was really,
man.
Shit was crazy.
Bro, I shout out to I had one of my greatest Uber drivers ever in Memphis, bro. He picked me up from the airport in a Cadillac, and we listened to nothing but 8 Ball and MJG and E40, bro. And like, it was one of the best 30-minute drives that I've ever had. It was like I don't have the Tennessee accent, but they was like, we rock with the Bay. We rock with y'all. Too short,
Right.
E40, we rock with y'all. Heavy. I'm like, respect. Anyways,
No doubt.
all that to say.
Well, they're
shout
going to be
out to
rocking with
Grizzlies.
the Bay. They're going to be rocking with the Bay tomorrow night, right?
Tonight, I'm going to the game. Can't wait.
Oh, it's tonight?
It's tonight.
I'm tripping.
Like, no, it's great. You've played in some of these games, Raja. I call them the center of the universe games, where all of the NBA world is looking at you, and you know it, right? Like that's going to be one of those games. I love being at those games. I love being around in those games. I can't wait. I'm getting to the arena early. All those things. The Warriors right now are, let's say, teetering. It's pretty. I don't know. It's funny how one game or one stretch can change your outlook on a team. Like we said when the trade happened that they would be a second round team. That would be a good season for them if they made it to the second round, right?
Yep.
I think this last week has really messed them up, man. The Harry B 3-pointer to buzzer beater. And then this loss to the Clippers, who we'll talk about on Friday because the Clippers look amazing. Look really good. But the Warriors, they just look old right now. Draymond is missing bunnies. Jimmy Butler's hurt. Defenses are just collapsing on Steph right now. It doesn't look good for them. I do think that they're going to win tonight, but they got to play the Rockets. I think the Rockets can beat them, Raja. And we talked about the Rockets. We talked about the Rockets a couple of weeks ago that they're not to be fucked with. Amen Thompson on Steph Curry is a problem right now.
Yeah, Rockets are going to be a tough draw. Period, specifically for Golden State, because they'll put their paws on you. Like and Golden State's just not.
Here's the thing, Raja. Golden State can't punk them. You're not going to punk Houston.
Yeah,
Houston has a size advantage with Steven Adams and Şengün. And they have a guy that can guard Steph. I'm not going to say stop Steph because you're not going to do it, but like make his life hell.
They also have multiple, even though they have multiple wings that get on top of the rim. Like they are really attacking you. Like that's the style of play that they're going to play.
And wings that can guard, bro. Like say what you want about Dylan Brooks, bro can guard.
Oh yeah. No, they're an attacking defense and an offensive team, and specific to playing Golden State with lack of depth and age, that could be a problem. Like it just could be. Like they're good. They're the type of team defensively that they have enough perimeter dudes that lock down and length. You know, Steph, if we're being real, what he kind of has struggled with at times, like he always cracks the code eventually, but like that dude who's long, physical, it's a rare thing, long, physical, and can move.
Yeah.
Like those, we're talking the elite of the elite, but like, you know, for someone who makes their living moving around and getting jumpers off real quick, like length can be a deterrent and a distraction. And, you know, now you're getting beat up and banged around the floor, and, you know, refing is going to be critical if and when that series happens. Like how do they call those games?
I don't want to also say like just make it a foregone conclusion that Golden State's going to win this game, because I really don't think so. They're 0-3 and play-in. So let's do the Memphis side of it and how they would match up against Houston. How do you see them matching up against Houston if they were to win tonight?
Yeah, I think I'm still taking Houston. I like Houston. I think that style of play, size, physicality, and all of that, more of a fair fight between Houston and Memphis. I think they're more equipped, maybe personnel wise, like with you know the roster and like I said, the physicality of it, the length of it, maybe the youth of it in some instances to go up against a Houston team that's going to be like, you know, foaming at the mouth to get out there and hoop. But I'm still taking Houston. I would still take Houston.
I'm gonna be real, man. I don't like Memphis's roster, and I think I've kind of, you know, I don't know. I've talked about it in the past, but like, I don't I don't like it. Like, I don't like. I said this in the last episode. I don't like Triple J in the role that he's in. I think he fouls way too much. I think that Ja with the injury history is one thing, but also I don't think that he's really transformed his game enough for this time. I think he gets really predictable in the postseason. And my favorite player of the group, Desmond Bane, I think he'll be well suited on another team in a couple of years because I think he is. I think he's a number 3, but I think I can't wait to see Desmond Bane in a Dylan Brooks type role for a team. You know
Right.
what I mean? Where like he's not expected to carry the offensive load at sometimes, and he could just like really key in on a player that he's defending and just hit a corner 3, bro. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I can't, but I just don't like their overall roster. I think if they played against Houston, I think Houston has the personnel to, play them and their length because Memphis does have some length and play that way. But they also put Amen Thompson on Ja, right? Like I think that would be a really good matchup for the Rockets. I really do. And I think the Rockets would win, honestly. It would be a shorter series if they played Memphis.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you might be right. And I think what I take away from that, what I would say about that series or both series is like, if you are the Rockets playing Memphis, you're gonna be better at doing kind of what they do than they do it, right? Like you're just better at that. Like you're bigger, you're stronger, you're all of that. Like where Golden State could stretch a series against Houston in a way that Memphis can is like they play a completely different style than Houston, right? Like, and Memphis doesn't play the exact same style, but we're talking about like length on length, strength on strength, X, Y, and Z. Like Golden State plays a very unique style. Like the way they get you caught in that blender when things are working offensively. If you don't deal with that, you could have all these defenders that I'm talking about, but if you are not executing defensively on any given night, and you're just a fraction of a second off on those switches, boom, layup, damn, another 3. Like, and you're out of sync defensively. And if you get out of sync and he's hot, Steph Curry, that is, game's over.
Yeah.
Right. So they could get you caught in that space.
I do see that. And also the Warriors, the Warriors have been really great defensively down the stretch. Their offense hasn't really matched up with their defense post Jimmy Butler trade. I think it's like 15th or something. It's definitely not in the Raja zone in terms of offensive and defensive efficiency rankings. But what I do think that they can do, and they can put, if they control pace in the game, the Warriors can really do some damage against Houston in the half court, right? Like if they play the half court defense that they're supposed to, and and slow the game down, I think they can grind out this series. Problem is, I don't think that once they get through a series with Houston, I don't think that they are going to get through another series. Like,
yeah, that's punitive, bro. That's what I was going to say to you.
bro.
That if they were to, if ifs were a fifth, but if they did, that would be punitive. Like that would
getting there. They're going to get their ass whooped. It's like
Yeah.
no matter what, they're going to get their ass whooped. That's what Houston is going to do. And another thing with Golden State, man, like this is something to keep an eye out for everybody. But like, if the Warriors roster and the guys on there are really playing for their collective futures right now, right? Like, I don't care about the contract situation. I don't care about none of that. Like, if they fall in the play-in and don't look good in the playoffs, everybody on that roster is expendable other than Steph Curry. Like, everybody. And if I don't cover Joe Leg up a long time, I know that I see something happening in Milwaukee right now, Raja. And I know this is like I know this isn't like an old rumor. This is not a new rumor, excuse me, with Giannis. But if Giannis is on the table, they are going to go after him, and they're going to. Doesn't matter that Jimmy Butler signed for what he signed for. Doesn't matter that Draymond has the contract. Everybody can go if Giannis is on the table. I think they are going to look at that very, very carefully. And another thing that's going on is underlying is the Kuminga situation, Raja.
what's that?
I think we've talked about this on the program, but there's always been kind of a disconnect between how the coaching staff of Golden State feels about Kuminga and Joe Lacob feels about Kuminga. I think the big reason why Kuminga hasn't gotten a deal and agreed to a deal is because the coaching staff is like, and Joe Lacob was always like, give him a chance. And I think that a lot of it has to do with Kuminga's a bit miscast, at least by Joe Lacob is like, oh, he's the next future number 2 guy. I think he can really be something. Whereas like in big games, he hasn't done great, or not necessarily great, but he hasn't had the performances that would elicit you saying this is the next guy.
Okay.
Like you think about, I talked about this with someone last week, but like you think about last year and the Kings Warriors playing when the Kings just blasted the Warriors. Kuminga tried to get in his bag and be that number 2 guy, and he just fell flat as that, and they got blown out. He's not a guy that is going to carry an offense, and I think there has been, at least from, I'll have a nuanced discussion with myself about this, but like the coaching staff doesn't trust him, and Kuminga knows that, and it's really pissing Kuminga off. Like, and that's been a historic thing. And Kuminga says, well, when Andrew Wiggins was down a couple years ago, I held it down for you guys. Why shouldn't I have this trust? And the coaching staff is, well, they don't trust his mind 100% of the time, which is why you see him not play down the stretch in big moments like against the Clippers, their biggest game of the season.
When you're saying that they don't trust, so the DNP the other night, like that was that his scheduled DNP? Like that was just like
no, he was fully healthy. He was fine.
Okay, so that's a pretty big disconnect, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear as up because you're informing me on this. The not trusting him is a decision making thing, like he hasn't learned enough to make these decisions yet, or he's not listening to what we're telling him to do and he's stepping outside of what we're asking him to do and then thus stepping on someone else's toes.
I think it's a little bit of both in the sense
because they're different.
I don't think that he's stepping necessarily on people's toes, but I think it's a maintenance thing. Every time he doesn't get what he wants or he doesn't get the minutes that he wants, the coaches see him as like a guy that is sulking, and they're like,
so
that's just it.
This is tough for me because I really like Steve Kerr in them, like I do. And so if you're telling me that Kuminga went in after not playing down the stretch, like in whatever game that was it Clippers?
He didn't play at all in that game. He got a full DNP.
The Clippers game. What was the game that you said he didn't play down the stretch against?
Well, no, when he didn't play, I referenced the Kings playing last year where he did play. Oh,
the Kings play,
and he didn't play in the way that like you would have wanted him to play.
So if there's anything that happened between the DNP and the last time they played that was completely disrespectful and out of pocket for a player to come in and do to a coaching staff or another player, and that DNP was, hey, you're gonna learn your lesson. You ain't gonna do that shit again. Then forget what I'm about to say because you're sending a message to him and we've got to curb behavior. I'm all for that. He is not the type of player that should be getting DNPs with the roster that Golden State has.
I agree.
He is not the type of player that should be getting DNPs. I love Steve Kerr. I think he's a great coach. He should not.
We both love
DNPs.
Steve Kerr.
In any world. In any world should he be getting DNPs. I'm just going to reference the Laker game that I watched. When
it's amazing.
He like Pod was Pod. What do they call him? Pajemski. What do they call him? Pods.
The Pods.
Pods was great. Pods was great. Out of his mind in the first half. But almost as great was Kuminga's ability to just be on top of the rim and just assaulting the rim against the Lakers in a way that nobody else from Golden State can do. Nobody.
Bro. Just for the simple fact in that Clippers game, though, Raj, and I agree with you. I definitely agree with you when it comes to Kuminga, and also, like again, like when we talk about Steve Kerr, he has consistently done this where he'll see a lineup thing that he just doesn't like. He said this week that he doesn't think that Draymond and Butler and Kuminga play together great. That lineup just isn't good. But what I think with Steve Kerr is sometimes he gets in his own way with this lineup shit, right? Like you think about in the Olympics with Tatum, and you think about something locally with Moses Moody, who has been playing really well, but he was just in Kerr's doghouse for whatever reason. Like Kerr puts people in his doghouse for whatever reason, and it backfires pretty frequently. And I think it backfired definitely in the Clippers game, because if you watch the Clippers game, Kawhi was getting everything he wanted. And I'm not saying Kuminga would have necessarily stopped Kawhi, but Kawhi had a performance where, like, similar to LeBron in the 2016 finals, where you just got to put bodies on him. And at the very least, Kuminga would have been another body that you put on him, right? And then could have gotten you some extra offense down the stretch, right? And that's something that they need to figure out. But like, I don't think the relationship is tenable between the staff and Kuminga right now. And he's probably not going to be on the roster next year. I don't think he's going to be on there. I don't think that either whether it be a trade or something, but like, I don't personally see it.
I definitely did. I didn't see that game. I was in the gym with Ty up in Kansas City, so I can't really reference that game. But what you're saying is essentially what I'm saying, and what your eyeballs see when you watch them play is like he's different physically sometimes than the other pieces that you have. And there are instances, like we can have the argument and the discussion as basketball, as hoop heads, about when and where that's valuable and when it might be less valuable. And we don't want to put it out there. That's fine. But he isn't a DNP type of guy. Like that,
No.
not on that team. There's no world where he should be getting DNPs because you've said that he isn't one of your top 9, 10 like options on that team. Like there's no world,
especially on that roster, bro. Especially on that roster.
But that's what I'm saying. On that particular roster, there's no world that you can convince me that's okay, even if he's not scoring.
Yeah.
Just as the athlete, to your point, the wingspan, the athleticism to put on one of these elite there's no world that you can convince me that that's okay. And so when you tell me he's not going to be on Golden State next year, I mean, if I'm the player,
I don't think so. I mean, he's a restricted free agent. They can do that, right? Like they can keep him.
If I'm the player, my conversation with you is like, look, don't do that. Don't match that. Like, you don't want me here. Or if you do, Mr. Lacob, he surely doesn't. Like, don't do that to me, man. Let me go somewhere and play, bro. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, also, not for nothing, bro. Like, and I know Steve a long time. You've known Steve a long time. Sometimes he likes to use but you can redeem yourself in the next game. Maybe like we're gonna need you in another game, and but like you embarrassed him. You embarrassed that dude. You embarrassed Kuminga for sure. And this is not the first time he's felt embarrassed, right? Like
again, Steve's a longtime gentleman in this game. There's a code to this shit. You knew when you DNP somebody like that, to your point, you were absolutely right. I'm sorry for cutting you off. That was to embarrass someone.
And I don't know if it was consciously, but it did happen. Like Kuminga is embarrassed.
So you forgot
Did
to
I
put him in?
sanitize again?
You forgot. Yeah, because I don't see a world in which you forgot to put him in.
No, there ain't no forgot. Hell no.
So then that means consciously you guys decided not to play him.
And you went on the radio saying that he doesn't fit with your two best players.
Yeah, look, I don't want to take shots at Steve. Like, Steve, we all have players like shit, even at youth basketball level, bro. Like,
there's some players in the Raja Bell doghouse.
No, but like most people can relate. You coach a YMCA team or you coach some shit like that. Like some of the players you like more than others. Some of them you look at and you're like, man, no matter what he does, you're like, it's human nature, right? Like you try to give them all a chance, but you're going to be drawn. Like there might be a kid. Like I've seen it.
There might be a kid that might punch a player and you're like, no, but he's great for our team. He's great, Or there might be another player that like, you're like, hey, man. He's so athletic, but like we just don't trust him in high pressure situations. Like that happens. That does happen.
It happens. What do you want me to say? It happens. And look, you can get again. I am the best example to myself and to my children of this. When you are valuable enough and you are performing at a level that is desired enough, they will let you get away with some of that. As soon as you are not worth that, gotta go.
And we're gonna see, and we might see that. We might see exactly what you said this summer with Golden State, where they're like,
It's gonna happen to It's gonna happen to. I mean, everyone is gonna reach the point where you're not worth it. Yeah,
hey,
it's gonna happen. Like,
we love real ones right now. They love real ones right now. I don't know.
Let me text Griff, man, and see how many. Yeah, let me see what I got on my contract.
You might need a job. We might need a job soon. All right, relax. We're just kidding, guys. You know, everybody's like, "Oh, what are they doing?" No, man, fuck out of here. Yeah, that's a good time to. Do you want to do any predictions, real quick?
No, I really thought the Golden State. I'm excited now because I knew I was watching Atlanta, Orlando.
You're staying up.
I don't know why I thought Golden State was. Oh, I'm up. I'm up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey.
Bevy. I might have a bevy. Who knows?
Woo! I'm gonna be at that thing too. It's about to be popping, bro. I already got my. I'm ready to go. Yo, the Real Ones group chat might be popping. Raja's, ladies, before we get out of here, Raja, ladies and gentlemen, has been participating in the Real Ones group chat. He has actually been starting some conversations, I think, that does not actually just links to his kids' recruiting stuff. He's actually like, yo, this shit is crazy. You know, like he's participating. Yeah. It's playoff time.
Am I?
We're ready to go.
Yes, it's playoff time.
That's what happens, bro. Hey, you was coming in hot this podcast. This is a great podcast, but I'm seeing you rounding in the playoff form. Like, we're ready to go. Let's fucking do this. It's going to be exciting.
No doubt. No doubt.
All right.
What am I drinking tonight? Damn it.
Little wine? Huh? A little rosé?
Nice taco night, bro. I'm going to make some tacos, so it might be a little. Yeah, I don't. We'll figure it out. Maybe a little tequila. I don't know.
Little tequila? Man,
I don't know.
I'm so jealous. Anyway, well, I'm about to be at the game. Actually, not that jealous. Anyways, that was another edition of Real Ones. Shout out to Cliff on the boards. Victoria on the video. That static, please. Come on, guys. Let's get it together, guys. Jesus. See you guys on Friday. All the shits. Love y'all. Real Ones. Bye. Must be 21 years and older and present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit MD Gambling Help in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelpma.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.